Hello, this is Lolly. I have a slightly different angle on my desk this time because I wanted to try and get somewhat of a sideways look at these little jars. I've been wanting to play around with globes, snow globes, water shakers, whatever you want to call them. And so I realize it's going to take me a little learning curve here because the mixture inside is a combination of water and glycerin. And glycerin, which you may have a hard time finding. I'm not sure. You'd have to look online and see where you can find it in your area. Here in the U.S., we can get it at craft stores that sell soap making supplies, and I know Amazon has it, Walmart has it. So anyway, I was practicing with these little jars here, and I thought they were pretty cute. Anything you put in glass is going to look bigger once it's inside. I had these little Hello Kitty plastic figurines that I had gotten on eBay a while back, and I thought that would be a perfect size to be my little person in the shaker. Now you can see this one has barely any air in it, one little bubble. And some of these, the little image or toy that you use is so tiny that it's too close to the bottom of the jar and you can't see it. So what I do is I glued an upside down lid here and then glued her on top of that and then made my shaker. And this one, and I thought too, by the way, I thought that maybe I put too much glycerin in this one. So it is very slow, which is good. I like that. And there are no beads. This is only sequins in here. Okay. Now, if you put anything like a seed bead, that's going to be heavier. This one, I put less glycerin in it, and I can tell, because, and it's too much water in here as well. But I can tell on this one because the items just sink down way too quickly. So somewhere in there is a happy medium. So I'll just share with you my experience as we go, and we'll look at this together. And I'm going to use a bigger one this time. It's still a small jar. I'm looking at this. I'm probably going to keep this white, but I don't like the bottom of this for when you shake it and it still has an expiration date because it was a food jar. So what I think I'm going to do is spray paint that white or put some cardstock there. I'm not sure yet. But I do know I want to use this rubber ducky as my toy in the middle. So when I look at this for size, I put the lid on, I see, no, that is really too short. So I need to elevate that somehow. So I thought I would use this plastic die, glue that in there, and glue the rubber ducky on there, and that would raise the ducky up just enough that you could see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this, and I have some of this Rust-Oleum white primer, and it says bonds to plastic. Krylon spray also works. It'll take a couple coats to get this completely coated, and then we'll come back. And in the meantime, what I do want to tell you is anything you're going to put in here should be waterproof. I see I have a hole here, but I'm going to cover that up, fill it with some E6000 to make sure it's sealed and before I glue that down in here. And the glue that I'm going to use is E6000 to glue this to that and this to that. Could use hot glue, but once this whole thing is established and it is all done, I glue the lids on, and so once I do that, if the hot glue pops off and this comes floating around in my jar, there's nothing I can do to fix it. So I'm going to pause the video and get this sprayed, and I will come back. Okay, I had this painted. I painted it white just to make sure that the black dots weren't too distracting, but I found a better, more stable base for my little ducky, and I want to use this lid. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to paint it or not. I think I may leave this the gold color. So it's a plastic lid. Always make sure that that and your item will fit into this by screwing it on. You see this one here, I didn't do that ahead of time, and he had a glass loop on the top of his head to make him into a charm, and the jar wouldn't even shut, and so I had to snap the glass loop off of his head, so no fun having to do that. Okay, so let me get this E6000 open. I am going to go around here on the edge. I want to get a full seal all the way around. Doesn't really matter if water gets under there, but I think it would help it to not lose its seal if it didn't. Okay, now I also want to cover this hole up really well. So I'm gooping the E6000 in the hole. Now if you had a surface that wasn't as sturdy, you could glue the base down first, let it set for 20 minutes, and then glue your little toy or image down there. So now this is setting. I am going to let that be and I think for a good hour, because I don't want to introduce any water into this until it's nice and firmly dry. Let's see if we can turn it a little sideways for you to see. Okay, it's been a while. Now, I had a problem guessing how much liquid to put in here, because you can see this is really bulky. When you put it in there, it's going to fill up the jar. And with this one, I did not guess right. I had it filled, and when I put the Hello Kitty, and she's on a lid in here, when I put that down in there, water splashed out all over the place. And you know, I had glued my edge here, so when I'm putting that lid down, I don't want water to slosh out all over my glue. So this one I underguessed, and I have a lot of air down in this one, and you can't really see because I can't turn it sideways. So I decided what I'm going to do this time is take a piece of regular office tape. I'm going to fold the end under, making it easy to pull it off next time, okay? So here's what I'm doing. I'm putting this here. You see, this is why I have the fold under end, so I can pick that up next time. I am going to put water in here, just regular water. Put this down in there, let it all squish out, so I will know exactly where my fill line is going to be. Once I fill this and put this in there so that the water does squish out, I'll take this back out, and then whatever level my water goes down to, I'm going to put a mark right there so that I know that that's where I should have my fill line. But then the trick is I'm going to have to make sure this is all dry again before I actually fill this up. Because of the glare, I decided to put a towel on there. So I'm just going to put some water in here. It's a really quick step, but I think given that I really want this one to have the right amount of water in it, I don't want to, I know that's going to be too much. I want to really be sure. So I'm going to push this down in there and see. No, it wasn't too much. I can see because I still have a lot of air left in there. So I'm going to see if this works now. Yeah, okay, I did have a little spilling just there. Okay, so that's right where I want to be. Now when I take out the duck, oh, you know what? It's completely above my tape area. So I'm going to lay this flat, and look sideways. I know exactly where it is because it's right at the base of where all the little rungs start. So I don't even need the tape in this one. I really thought this was going to push things through too much, but given this was just such a small jar, Hello Kitty took up a lot of room in there. So if this were bigger, I would have a big problem. So I know exactly where my line is, and it's right there, and I'm good. So I'm going to take this out, let it dry, and start again. I had wiped this dry and inside here as well, and I especially wanted this to air dry and just the rim here to air dry. Now I may get some moisture on here as I'm pouring in my liquids, but I'll just dry it off again. So what I have is this vegetable glycerin. I got mine from Amazon.com, and I do know that Walmart and some of the craft stores that sell soap making supplies do carry this, so you will have to search online for your area. So I have been working with this and decided to try 1/4 glycerin. So I'm just eyeballing this. Okay. And then I'm going to mix the water. And I'm using distilled water. I figure anything I can do to make this more clear would be beneficial. And I have a stir stick here. Now, from experience, I learned that if you pour the water in and then your sequins and then your glycerin in stages, what happens is the glycerin binds to these and leaves them in big clumps that never do separate. So I have found that if I add the water to the glycerin and get that all mixed in first before adding the sequins, it really helps. Okay, now mix. It looks like it's not going to mix at first, but if you just keep stirring, it does mix really well and turn clear. And you can tell because it looks like there's wispy clouds in there while you're stirring. So, and I can see with this that I still have a little bit to go here. And it's just becoming more and more clear as I go. Now I can test this by putting in just a few pieces of my mix here. I have some things that I mixed up. And see how thick that is. Okay, and I can tell I do want some more of this because I want mine to be thicker. And I'm going to mix that in. I Notice that I don't have any more room here because I'm at my border right now. So if I decided I still wanted this thicker yet, I would have to remove some of this liquid here in order to get more glycerin in there. Okay, I'm looking at the side of this. I know you can't tell, but I'm looking at it from an angle down here to see when I stir it how long it takes the pieces to come down off there. And I think that I would still like a little more glycerin. So I am going to pour a little bit of this out. So again, I had used 1/4 of this was glycerin, and I'm discovering that that's not the mixture that I want. So I would say even 1/3 glycerin for the way I like it. But again, it's totally up to you. I do put a few seed beads in my project because I think it kind of helps to, when you shake it, kind of helps to break up some of the clumps in there as it's being shaken. Okay, now let me look at this. Oh, that's much better. I like it to have a slower float as it's going down. Now, because I poured some of that out of there, I have water on my rim again, so I'm just going to kind of dry that off. Let that air dry while I'm mixing in my sequins mix. So I chose some yellows, peach colors, a little bit of red, some clear hologram looking ones, excuse me, because I was just going with what I wanted to match my ducky. And I'm giving this a bit of a stir, and you know it's going to stick to my stick, but that's okay. I have plenty in here. So I'll just wipe off some of the excess. And obviously you don't want to rinse this off into your sink, you know, what's on the stick here, because you just don't want to put the sequins down the drain. So I'll just use it, wipe it off on something. Okay. I'm just going to give this an extra dry here and use the extra dry part of the towel again. Now, because I live in a really dry climate, I don't worry about how long it takes things to dry as much as you would if you were in a really moist climate. But anyway, that one feels really good. So what I'm going to do next is take my E6000, put it all around the rim, and I'm going to put it sort of on the outside of the top of the rim so it doesn't just all fall onto the inside of my jar. Okay. Whoops. Let me find a piece of scrap paper because this just wants to goop right out there and I want more control. So depending on how quickly your E6000 is gooping out on you, you just kind of spin the bottle around as you go. And again, I'm doing it on this outside edge of the top rung of the jar here. Now, I guess one of the main questions is, can you use hot glue? Well, sure, but you'd have to work pretty quick. That's all I can say, is you'd have to work really quick to get around this rim and get the lid sealed on there before it started hardening. Okay, I have a little time to play around with it. And I use E6000 in a well-ventilated area. Now I'm going to lower this down in there and just slowly screw my lid on. And then I'm going to give it an extra pinch of tightness there, and I am going to let that set for an hour before I start spinning it around and shaking it up. Okay, I'm back. A little adjustment here. Okay, so I had neglected to mention, but I put it in an annotation that one of the stages I had done was to put just this gingham pale yellow cardstock on here that I had in my stash and a sticker that I had in my stash. And I really thought it was cute, but I wanted that ladybug to pop a little bit, so I put a little glossy accents on the ladybug just to give it some shine, and I really like how that turned out. Here is my project. So you can see how the sequins has a slow move to it, and I really like that. I don't like it to fall down immediately because that's part of the joy of this, is to be able to watch it come down. And it's just to get mesmerized. So you see I do have a little bit of air, but I think that's just the right amount. And because it enables it to shake better. But I love it. It's so cute. Now, one of the things I want to tell you too, what you could do instead of putting a toy on the inside is to just fill it full of all your shaky parts, your glitters, and your, and I do have some chunky glitter in here, but I would not use fine glitter. It just seems to make the water look muddy to me. But anyway, in what thing you can do, instead of putting a toy inside, and then you don't have to worry about how much room the toy is going to take inside, is to is to affix a cute image on one of the sides of here, like something that you've printed out, or would be very adorable. Anyway, that's my little ducky in a jar. Isn't he cute? Thank you so much for watching and for giving a thumbs up on the video so I know what types of videos you like. If you have any questions, feel free to put messages in the bottom comments and questions underneath this video. And thank you for subscribing to my channel.